Hello, welcome to MelMade. My name's Mel and this is a podcast all about the things that I have made. And when I say made, I mean knitted, because I am an obsessed knitter. I knit mainly garments and I live in the northeast of England. I am really sorry about the lighting. It's not the best. It is a very grey day. It's 4 o'clock. It's November, so we are losing light. I did try and record this before, but the light was it went wrong. So I've lost quite a bit of time, but I thought, no, I'm going to do it today, whatever happens with the light. But I think this way you can see things a lot better. So we've had some really, really bad storms. It's been never-ending rain. The last few days have just really sort of settled down. I haven't podcasted for a while for a very good reason, but a very first world reason. I got my kitchen done, and that meant there was a lot of dust and a lot of mess and a lot of panic in my head about organising everybody's schedules around that, and it just didn't happen. It kept getting put off, and then with the light being so bad now during the week, I have to wait for a weekend, and then it's grabbing the right time. So here I am, I'm back. And because of the length of time it has been since I last recorded, I've got quite a few new WIPs and I've got some finished objects. One of those finished objects you can see me wearing now. I am wearing the Nightingale sweater, Nightingale Pullover by Nora Gaughn. You can see it here in the as an issue number 27 in the Pom Pom magazine. It's a gorgeous edition, and this is not the only pattern that is worth knitting in it. There are some really, really pretty ones, but I got this specifically for this pattern. This is not the yarn it's knitted in. I think it might be knitted in linen quill. I will put it on here. It's really hard to get that yarn here. It was. I've had this for a couple of years. This is actually Cascade 220. I think it's in shade. It's a number, but it's the teal shade. They've got loads of different shades of Cascade, and this is a worsted weight. It's soft and I love the colour, and yeah, I got this a couple of years ago before my my elbow went a bit gammy, and I was all set to knit it I think about this time last year, but I was injured and I've finally done it. I'm really, really happy with it. I'll put a picture in here of me wearing it so you can see it all over and in natural light. It's knitted bottom up in pieces and then seamed. It's got these beautiful cables travelling across it, and it is charted. The charts are really, really easy to read. They're very intuitive. I didn't even need to look at the written cable instructions for each symbol because you could see from the chart what you were supposed to be doing. So yeah, that really worked for my brain anyway. So it's not as complicated as it looked. I don't think it's a beginner pattern by any means, but it's definitely doable if you've done cabling before and if you like charts. The only modification I made, I didn't even need to make the body longer. Normally I do, but I forgot about that. I should have. If you wanted to make the body a lot longer, I'll just show you the way the ribbing is done at the bottom. You know, the cables almost start and then they travel. You would need to knit this bit a bit longer for extra length. I've been sitting, so that's folded over a bit. I didn't do that. However, the length worked fine. Brilliant. The only modification I have made is that here you can see is it ribbing? It travels up the arm, and on the original, this stocking stitch part gets wider and wider because the increases are made for the sleeves within this. I did the increases by accident initially in the purl section. But then I like the look of it and I thought I'm going to do it on the other sleeve. I think it's a bit different, but there's no problem with it. I think the original looks lovely as well though, but that's just the only modification I made, and that was me having a little bit of a moment. So it's very warm. It needed blocking. There was a little bit of puckering between cables. It definitely needed blocking for that to settle, but it did, and I am so happy with it. So that is finished object number 1. Finished object number 2. I have finished my Rowena sweater by Fabelknitwear. Now, oh gosh, you can see through it. This is it. It's a little bit crumpled. It's been in my wardrobe, folded up in my little knitted box, and I've got little bags of like dried rose and lavender petals in there, so it smells really nice. This is knitted, I'll say first, this is knitted in Mongolian cashmere by Badma yarns, and it's very thin, and the idea is that after I think 3 washes or blocks it blooms, so it looks thin, and I think we have not yet got the full beauty of the blooming, because I've only blocked this once. It's downstairs waiting for another wash, so I'm hoping we will get there, and that's why it looks a bit see-through. It has a lovely detail at the back. It has this keyhole little thing with a button. I've had to reinforce that hole with crochet twice. I did a sort of chain stitch round on the outside and then sort of on the just inside of the curve, because there were some quite unsightly gaps, but that's because I think I used a thinner yarn than is recommended initially anyway by the pattern. I had to use go up a size. I went up to a large. Believe it or not, that's a large. Doesn't look that large, but it is, and it does fit really well. But I'm normally a small to medium, so, and it's negative ease, or yeah, 0 or negative ease, so I probably would have thought I would have been a small to size up to a medium, but I saw a few other podcasters and projects on Ravelry were saying this knits up so small, and she does say that on the pattern, but they were like, she means it, you know, do not knit it too small. So I went up to large, and I'm really pleased I did, because it fits really, really well. The colour is coming out better than it was when I tried to record before. It's a beautiful burgundy. It's a little bit darker than you can see on screen. I love this colour. I've got quite a few in this colour. It's got a lovely little puff sleeves. It's knitted bottom up in the round. The body is in ribbing, which is a pain in the backside, like all that ribbing, but it's worth it. You get the stretch, you get the look. The sleeves are stocking stitch with a little puff, which I think is really cute, and a nice little turtleneck. Oh, and it's so soft. I recommend this yarn. So far, it is heavenly, and it is affordable for cashmere. Cashmere is normally out of my price range, even my price range where I can be a bit crazy about what I want to spend on wool. But this is very affordable, it's ethical, and I really recommend it if anyone wants to try cashmere but is a little bit worried about the cost. This was reasonable considering, and so far we still have to see the beauty of the bloom, but so far going very well. So that is finished object number 2. Finished object number 3. I'm surrounded, but this is a sofa, it's for 3 people, but it's taken over by my knitting. I'm totally surrounded by everything all the time, and I still don't know what I'm looking for. Yes, I do. Finished object number 3. It's the socks. My dad's socks. Everyone has heard about my dad's socks. Well, you have if you've watched the other episodes. If you haven't, give yourself a treat. Go back and watch them. I'm not even going to tell the story. Right, this is the second pair of socks I've knitted for my dad. One of them has been tried on his foot, so we know that they fit. I moan every single time I talk about them, and I don't know what it is, whether I have second sock syndrome, or whether I'm just a baby, or whether I'm just selfish and I want to knit things for myself, whether it is I don't like orange. This yarn is beautiful. It is Hedgehog fibres. I think it's copper coin, or copper penny. And it's got little flecks of green in it. It's a very autumnal yarn. My dad loves orange. I'm just not an orangey person, so I have a feeling I was knitting it going, no, you don't like orange. The design, it's called the Unity Socks by Niina Tanskanen from 52 Weeks of Socks. So you can see there's a beautiful little travelling cable going on. I think I just never memorised the pattern, got grumpy, wanted it done. Oh, I don't know, but I do think having the pattern not in my head didn't help. I'm just having my tea. I've got a pertinent knitting cup. One of my students at work, she gave me this as a little leaving gift. You may think that I'm listening to you, but in my head I am doing my knitting. I don't know if that was her feelings whilst working with me, and I did listen. But yeah, there is a certain amount of knitting going on in my head at all times. It's very calming, isn't it? So, finished object number 3. Hopefully these will fit and he'll be happy, and we'll find out at Christmas. So I was very pleased, and they look nice with this colour as well. Let's just walk around like that. that's them done. Let's move on to works in progress. There's quite a few of these. This is my Magnolia Bloom. I will put a picture in here. Here we are. This is as far as I have got. Oh, look at that, isn't it pretty? This is a snuggly, lace-yoked, chunky winter cardigan. It is knitted from the top down. I don't know what else to say. There are some short rows after the lace yoke in the back to lift the neck at the back. Yes, you just start it off here, and then you get into the lace, and then you separate for the sleeves and join again in the round, and it's very straightforward when you get to the stocking stitch, which we know is straightforward. The lace chart is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with the pattern, but I think the way it's written is, you're not walked through things, let's just say. If you are used to patterns that hold your hand through each row, this is not the pattern for you. And this has been translated into English, and I do think on the continent there's more of a vibe with knitting, that you need a guide, and then you've got a certain level of knowledge and you just go for it. And definitely this pattern does not talk down to you, let's just say that. She has a thing, she's assuming that you are okay with knitting the button band as you go on smaller needles than the main, and remembering to do buttonholes every certain number of rounds. And you have to find the right chart for your size, repeat it the right number of times. And there was a lot of, I feel a bit like Mr. Bean. I don't know if anyone knows about Mr. Bean. It was a UK thing, I don't know about in America and stuff, but it's just Rowan Atkinson running around being, acting like somebody who's from another planet, basically. But it's when he goes, and that's what I was doing with this pattern. I would read it and go, oh, okay, because there'd be something else, and remember this, and remember that. And at one point I should have just got wooden double-ended needles of the right size for the button band, which is what you're knitting with the rib at each side. But I didn't. I used like long needles, and I found another pair of like circular needles, and then I had circular needles for the back in the bigger size because I was knitting this in 8mm for the body. And I ended up, it's knitted with, well, it's supposed to be knitted with 2 strands of mohair and 1 strand of worsted. I'm knitting it in 1 strand of mohair equivalent, which is a bit thicker than the mohair, and 1 strand of Aran weight, which is slightly bigger than worsted. But as you can imagine, with 3 circular needles, so that's like 6 points, and 2 strands and balls everywhere, it got very tangled and very confusing. And I enjoyed doing the lace yoke, but I was also a bit stressed about the lace yokes. When it had done, I was like, yes, it looks so pretty. I've done little, I'm not very good at nubs. These are called little nubs in the pattern, which I think is a cute word, the bobbles. I'm not a bobble person, and I don't get how to do them, and they look amazing in the pictures of the finished pattern on the pattern, but mine don't look that amazing. But what I am going to do is, I like sewing, and so whenever I, especially when there's a forgiving wool, whenever I do something a bit wrong with things like this, where I can, I will fix it with a needle. So I'm going to go around and embroider the bobbles better and tighten them in. And I think it'll block out as well, because whenever you knit lace, you need the blocking to show the full beauty of the lace and what's going on. So that will be okay. This is knitted in, as I said, it was an Aran weight. I got this last year from Yarndale. This is a Lammermuir wool, simply Shetland Aran. It's from a farm in Scotland. I think it's a natural colour. It's called Smirr, S-M-I-R-R. And it is just rustic but soft as well. Oh, it's lush. And I've paired it with, I can't knit anything without Fyberspates Cumulus, apparently. It is my go-to for the mohair equivalent. This is it in the colour, my favourite colour of this, Storm Cloud. So I'm paired it with that. I've just realised this is a bit thicker than a mohair equivalent. I've been treating this as though it's the same as mohair. It's not, it's a tiny bit thicker. Someone pointed that out to me at our knitting afternoon the other day. And so I only need 1 of these, and that's worked well for the gauge. I am knitting it on slightly bigger needles. It's coming out maybe a little bit bigger than I thought, but it's good. I wanted a slightly oversized, but not massively oversized, chunky cardigan. I've been trying it on as I go and I'm really, really happy. The body is currently resting on this, it's like a jewellery cord that you could get from Amazon. It's got that little hole in the front of it. I can't really show you. It's like a hollow plastic tube and it's really flexible. So because it's for jewellery, it's really long and you can stick it on the end of your needle and pull it through, and it's really useful. So I've got that resting on there just in case after knitting the sleeves I find that changes the fit and I want to knit it a bit longer. But I do want this to sit at my waist and I want to be able to wear it with dresses and things like that. So, oh, it's squidgy and snuggly and I can't wait to get it finished. It's hurting my elbow a little bit so I should go easy. We should if anyone's having a winter drink, they could watch this and like drink every time I say elbow, and you probably wouldn't get to the end of the podcast. I'll try not to keep going on about my little elbow injury. There you go, have a drink. Yeah, but it's hard when you're really excited to get something finished to slow down, but I will slow down. It's the end of the weekend, Sunday, going into Monday tomorrow, so my arms will get a bit of a break through the day tomorrow, and I am working. So that is the Magnolia Bloom cardigan. I think the design's a sweater, there's a children's sweater, there's a bigger cardigan, there's a smaller cardigan, there's loads of different versions because it's a beautiful chart and why waste it? And I would say, yeah, it's probably for intermediate knitters to expert knitters for understand. I wouldn't do it as a first pattern, but I do recommend it. It's just looking beautiful, and I couldn't see anything. I've never seen anything else quite like it. Yeah, so I just recommend that. That's by Camilla Vad. The next work in progress is a Christmassy one. I am probably about 2/3 of the way through the Betty and Judy Lodge Christmas sweater. I'll put a picture up. I am knitting this with burgundy again as the main colour. It's a little bit darker than you can see there because of the light. The holly leaves are in tarsia, and I have stitched over the berries, and I'm going to stitch over them again because again my little bobbles and my nubs aren't the best, are they? I'm a little bit worried that it's pulling around the intarsia sections here. There's a lot, it's quite involved. Not worried enough to pull out and do it again, but I may stitch, I think on this side I have reinforced some of the some of the background colour there, and I may try and reinforce just in these little problem areas here. I may reinforce on that side as well if I think it works. I do think blocking will help as well. I do think things will bloom and drop into place. I always look to blocking to save me when I've done something crazy. There is a keyhole detail at the back. Already there, that's made, and this construction is clever. You start, I think it's the top left back, you knit down. There's a lot of clever short row shaping, German short rows I think they use, and then you knit the right shoulder and then you join them, and then you pick up the stitches here in the other colour and you knit down and you do the intarsia charts. I got really confused with the intarsia charts because I was doing it on my tablet, and then you've got one and then the other's mirrored, but then you're purling, so you're going backwards as well. So I found I could use one chart and just read it whichever way I needed to read it. I don't know if I'm making sense, but because they're mirrored and because when you're knitting on the wrong side you've got to go back the other way, you could in theory use one chart and just remember to start from the other side. It mostly worked. I don't know if that's just because of my brain, but I found that easier than flipping from chart to chart and back and forth. I don't know if it would have been even easier probably if I printed it out and really like thought about it a bit more. Probably you could print it out and stick them next to each other and that would work really well. The nice thing about the chart for this as well is that it tells you, a little number tells you if there's an expanse of just one colour, it'll say 12, you know, as in 12 white stitches here, so that you're not constantly having to narrow your eyes and physically count. So it really was very helpful, little things like that, lots of details on it which were lovely. Then you knit it all the way down, round and round and round in stocking stitch. I've got my little Santa stitch keeper at the end, even though there's no point to him being there other than James bought him for me I think last year and I love him, and it's a Christmas knit. And I still have to knit the sleeves. There's lots of different possibilities for the sleeves. I was going to do 3/4 length, but I'm flirting with the idea of just doing little puffed short ones because I want to wear this at work as a Christmas jumper. It's quite a warm office. And at home, even if I knitted this with full long sleeves, I would probably pop a cardigan over the top anyway, because I have to layer up at home because I'm a bit chip and a bit cold at home. I'm probably not running around as much as I am at work. Just sitting around knitting. I'm still deciding, but I definitely don't think I'll knit this as a full length sleeve, so it'll probably be either short or possibly elbow length, 3/4 length sleeves, and then that will be done. And I'm hoping to get this done for December so I can skip around with a lovely Christmas knit on, and it's my first ever Christmas knit and I'm really pleased. The yarn is Cascade 220. The shades are just numbers. There's a burgundy, there's a lovely Christmassy green. I haven't got the label for this one, so I can't even tell you the number, but I think it was like a... No, it would have just been a number for the shade, but I quite like that green. It's not the darkest green I could get, but I wanted it a bit lighter because I had a very dark red. And then there's like the nice white background, like a natural background, which the second colour, which, yeah. And it's worsted weight. Same type of wool as this. It's very affordable and it's soft and fun, and I'm really pleased with it so far. So that's my Betty and Judy Lodge sweater. I've ordered a pencil skirt to go with it, like proper retro vintage vibe to it. And next year I do want to do sort of a yoked one with reindeer or something pretty here, but I didn't have the time this year and I thought that looks fun. I think it's quite quick and easy, and yeah, I might have to start that in October next year and be really, really, you know, organised and plan it. So yeah, that's my plan. Next WIP, you have seen this before. It's back again. A year ago I had this up from Kim Hargreaves' fall collection. I am knitting my eldest the Carter hoodie. This has been a long-term project. It doesn't take that long, but I got my injury and it got stalled. I have knitted the back. I have knitted the half of the front. It's knitted in pieces bottom up like a lot of the Kim Hargreaves patterns are, and then seamed. I'm knitting it in Rowan brushed fleece, which is merino wool and alpaca. This is the front that I've got. The bumpy side of the stocking stitch is the right side. There's a little pocket detail, which is really nice. This would be quick. If I just focused on this, I could probably get it done within about 10 days. But I'm dotting about, and my eldest is a bit like, where's my jumper? Like, in a minute, I've just got things to finish for me first. But when it's done, I think they'll like it. Hopefully it'll keep them cozy. And even if, because you know what it's like with teenagers, just because they liked it last year doesn't mean they would have picked it this year. But I do think a black squidgy soft hoodie, you know, even if they just wear it in their bedroom, I think they'll still wear it. And I do think it's pretty inoffensive when it's very neutral. It's very black, and I'm knitting an extra large because they like really baggy things. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll work. And if they don't like it, I'm sure I can find someone else who does. That is my other work in progress. I have more going on at the moment than I'm normally comfortable with, but it's not stopping me. Gosh, is that number 4? Yeah, my 4th work in progress is the half and half triangle wrap by Purl Soho. I'll put a picture in here. It's a free pattern on their website, and oh my goodness, it's massive. This is, I have knitted I'll explain what it is. It's 2 triangles made of garter stitch short rows, massive triangles in different colours, and then you can wear it in different ways. And Inga on Knitting Traditions knits these quite a lot, and it's a meditative knit. It's supposed to take a long time, and it is taking me a long time. The first colour I am using is the West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply Sparkle in Night Sky, which is 75% wool, 25% nylon, 2% polyester. And it's really a sock yarn, but you can use it for anything. And oh my goodness, I love garter stitch. There's ages since I knitted anything in garter stitch. It's just so fun. And it's a bit darker than, and it's coming out on camera there. I have just got to the end of the first colour, and now I'm knitting across. I've got between 200 and 300 stitches on the needles. Now I'm knitting across with the Fyberspates Cumulus, Storm. Just to correct things, sorry, just to confuse you, with the Magnolia Bloom cardigan, I'm using Slate, the shade of grey. Slate for this one, Storm for this one. Not that I am obsessed with Fyberspates Cumulus, and I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. I wish I was. If you get too many grey versions of the same yarn, this happens. So this is Slate, this is Storm. So if you can see the difference there, this is a grey, bluey grey. This is more of a purple, lavender grey. Not much in it. This is my favourite colour just on its own. And I decided that, yeah, I did swatch for it. It did sort of work on the swatch. It's going to be a bit different texture, obviously, but they worked. And I didn't quite realise when I started this just how many balls it's going to take. I think I've got enough, but I thought I had enough of this and I had to buy another 100-gram ball, and this is a lot more expensive than that because it's baby alpaca and silk. So I hope I've got enough. I love this colour. Anyway, just confusing myself. That is ticking along slowly and nicely. It is a really good one to knit when I'm in meetings or training and I don't need to think, or I'm tired. I'm knitting it on 4.5mm needles, which is annoying because it means my 4.5 trowel goos are out of action forever. And I can't believe how big this is. I've never knitted a blanket or anything, and this is akin to a blanket really. By the time this is going to be double, by the time it's done, it's going to be absolutely huge. But then it will, you can do that, or I could just have it as a blanket. Why not? I'm not in a hurry. I am enjoying it, and it is very easy once you get the hang of it. Yeah, so completely recommend the pattern so far. Go and have a look if you want to. Right, my next WIP, which was a finished object and then turned back into a WIP, is some socks. Where are they? So I got this paint box yarn online, and I thought that looks fun. I want to knit some socks in that. I'm up for the blues and the pinks and the yellows, and I want to see what pattern it makes. It looks quite fun. I think it's called Sorrel Fantasy, and it's just a normal sock yarn really. I think there's a bit of quite a bit of nylon and polyester in it, but there is wool as well. I've lost the label. Here it is. I haven't been able to see it anywhere else since. 75% wool superwash, 25% polyamide. There we go. Sorrel Fantasy. And I was really excited to knit them, and it came up like this. It's just fun. Oh, can we focus on that? Are we getting that? Yeah. Totally random. I don't mind. I mean, I deliberately started at a different point. I quite like the charm of the different pattern running through. What I do wish I'd done is knitted a sort of blue or white contrasting heel and toe with these. And I thought they were done and I was happy. Well, I was happy, but then I tried them on. Excuse me. And they're just a little bit wide and a little bit loose, but they fit my partner really well, and he had his eye on these and he was making noises about them. I said, oh, well, when I've done mine, I'll knit you some. And then, you know, I've knitted the toes and everything, and I've tried them on and I've thought, I'm not feeling it. They're not snug enough. They're going to annoy me. And he's sitting there in his armchair next to me with his eye on them, and I said, why don't I knit you a pair? And he said, oh, it's really dark now, sorry about the light. And he said, you know, he was happy with that. So I'm going to pull the toes out, and I'm going to pick up, rejoin at a random point of the ball, just rejoin and re-knit, because it's such a random pattern. I don't think it'll notice, and he certainly won't mind. He likes the joy of colour and craziness and things not matching. And I will knit them a little bit longer for his feet, who are bigger than mine, longer than mine, and then I think he'll have a nice pair of socks. So yeah, it's on my list. I haven't done it yet, but I will, and it'll be a nice portable little project to have. And actually, once I get going on them, they won't take long. And that's they're just a vanilla sock pattern. So that's all my works in progress. On to My SWIPs, I have a SWIP section. I don't really normally do acquisitions because that's just not my jam. But I normally have projects in mind. I'm a project knitter, not a process knitter. Yeah. So I've normally got projects bubbling away, and that I always get wool for the projects and then don't have time to knit all the projects. So I went to Yarndale. Oh gosh, it was like 6 weeks ago now. It seems it's just flown by, hasn't it? And I'm just laughing because the dog's asleep now, but as I pulled up at Yarndale, I was on a minibus with my knitting group, and I read out a text from James saying the dog's had diarrhea on the carpet, and I read it out and the whole bus went, oh. I said, but James is cleaning up, and everyone went, yay! And then we got off and went shopping for wool, and poor James and poor Charlie, because he was genuinely, he had a tummy bug, so it was pretty, yeah, I got back to a clean carpet. God bless him. But anyway, I had a really nice day at Yarndale with like-minded knitters, and I managed to up the eccentricity scale by, you know, they expect you to be talking about jumpers and knitting and yarn and everyone's on the same page, but I really want to knit the Cowl Bralette by Jessie May. So I was hunting for merino, but non-superwash merino, because I want to support in a bralette, and I'm not going to get that from superwash because superwash is known to stretch and, you know, drape a little bit. But it was really hard to find a stall with non-superwash merino, because I think superwash merino just take colours better, and if you've got lots of independent dyers, they're going to be drawn to the superwash merino. I believe that's the thing anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. And it took quite a while, but eventually I did find a stall that did non-superwash merino. River Knits. And I got this, Niina. My Heart Bleeds Wine is the colour. Divine, jewel type colours. I wish I'd got more of this actually, I could just do a jumper in this. 100% British Blueface Leicester, so it isn't actually merino. But I love the colour, and it is, Blueface Leicester is quite soft. And yeah, yeah, that's going to be my bralette thing. And I don't know when I'll get round to that, probably in the summer, but I wanted that and I got that and I'm very happy with it. I also got this. This is a bit of a random, it's going to be for some socks for me. Sable yarns, just so jolly and cheerful and colourful. I think this was a closing down sale, so I got that little wild card. And whilst I was bobbing around, I got an idea in my head, looking at all of the, just overwhelmed by how beautiful all the stalls were. And I thought, I'm going to knit the Sorrel. It's been on my queue for ages, It's a very famous pattern. I'll put a picture in. And I thought, I'm going to knit a Sorrel. And some of these 4-ply beautiful skeins have quite a lot, a lot of meterage in them. I think this one's got 425 meters per 100 grams. So that's pretty good. So I thought I could get away with 2 expensive, lovely skeins of yarn. But you have to strand it with a mohair. So first of all, I'll show you the yarn I selected. It's from Temporal Spin. And look at the colour. Oh, it's like a foresty green, but with like hints of like, I don't know, gold and pink in it. And yeah, it's hard to see in this light, but it is really, really lovely. It is merino, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, so it could be for socks. But I got 2 of these, and then to hold it with, because it needs a mohair, a really helpful lady on one of the stalls, I forget which stall, I did write it down but I've got muddled. A really helpful lady said, rather than stranding one of these with a green mohair where it's going to get lost, she said, why don't you try this? Cumulus, again, I know I'm obsessed. And this is the Purl shade. And her theory, I have yet to test it with a swatch, but her theory is, and I think it's a good theory, is that the pinky tinge that this has is going to set off the green in here, and I think it'll be really interesting. So we'll have to see. You never know until you knit them up together what it's going to be like, but I'm dying to swatch for this. The only reason I haven't started yet is I wanted to get a cardigan done because I don't have enough cardigans in my wardrobe. My partner would disagree, but I definitely don't have enough cardigans. And this is going to be for a jumper, so I'm dying to get this on the needles and test this out. And the idea was that if this worked, I would then order more. But then I went to my knitting afternoon last weekend and I have had my eye on this pattern from Fibres, not Fyberspates, I'm obsessed, aren't I? Not Fibre Tales, Fabelknitwear, another thing I'm obsessed with. I have had my eye on this pattern. I have forgotten the name of it, but I will put it here and the picture of it here. It's been in my queue for so long. And when I realised during a chat at my knitting group last week that one strand of this is thicker than a strand of mohair, I've been wanting to knit that pattern from Fabelknitwear, but it says it takes 2 strands of mohair, and I thought, oof, that's going to get pricey, and I think it's going to be hot for something that comes to here. It's going to be very warm, and I don't know if I want to wear something that thick and warm, I'll need all of my arms covered. I'll need a different garment, and that seemed to me more of a transitional sort of autumn or spring or even winter when you've got the heating on sort of garment. And I didn't think 2 strands would work. But then when I realised that this is actually thicker, I thought, well, I could get away in theory with 1 strand of this, so long as I check my needle size and make it okay, it's not too see-through. So I just impulsively went online, looked at all the colours, looked at all of the cumulus they had. This, and I ordered another 8 of this. And it's the same colour, and I should have realised, but on the website it looked white. Like next to this it might look a bit white, but it's actually, if you put it next to this, I think you can see there's a pink, or maybe you can't, it's this light here, but it is a blush white. Whilst I'm happy to strand this with something, I have pink and white skin. I don't know, it doesn't look too bad here, but I'm worried that this will wash me out and not be something that I could wear on its own. I might be wrong, and I'm going to go and ask my besties when I see them next, because they are brutally honest. I will definitely get an honest opinion from them as to whether I I could keep the 8 that I've ordered, because I already needed more of this anyway, in theory, if the swatch works. But yeah, there's a lot going on. Basically, I'm going to end up buying more of this, aren't I, in a colour. I love the aubergine as well, so we'll see. That is another SWIP that is on my list, my excited list. Just so many possibilities. But yeah, it's a nice problem to have. Another first world problem. Too much beautiful baby alpaca and silk. What am I going to do? Is it slightly the wrong shade for my skin tone? Who knows? Who cares? Yeah, lovely problems that I'll have. I'll enjoy figuring it all out. So back to Yarndale. Beautiful stalls, lovely people, had lunch. I got shopped out quite quickly though, because it's just so exciting. It's just too much. So after about 3 or 4 hours, a lot of us were sitting sort of at the side knitting, and we all went home. It's a good story. I'll tell that again sometime. We had a really good day. If you know, you know. And the last thing that I got there, I think you may remember in the last episode, we sadly lost my grandma earlier in the year, and she was a big knitter, and my auntie sent me some of her patterns, and this is one of the patterns. I went through them, and this is one, I think it's a 50s one I really liked, still like, in the dolman style. And one of the things I specifically wanted from Yarndale was to find some yarn to knit this in, and I did. I found some on sale. It's John Arbon wool. It might be, I don't know what it's called because I haven't got the tag, but it was, I think I managed to get the end of a dye lot because I got 3 of these and I got it at a good price. There was a John Arbon stall, and I love his wools, but I just happened to see this, and I did look, and I think there wasn't this colour in stock when I went, so yeah. Some of them are sort of undoing themselves. Oh, don't undo yourselves, I don't want you tangled. But so soft and lush. So it's not very helpful, is it, when I can't actually tell you? I know it's John Arbon, but I can't tell you anything else. But I wanted to use some of his yarns to knit with before. I mean, I've seen him interviewed, and he knows his stuff, and his wool's always really good quality, isn't it? And so I've got that to knit that in, and that is probably going to be more of a springtime, end of the winter knit for the spring, wearing with like baggy trousers tucked in or with a skirt. Such fun. This is why it's dangerous, you know. I have a passion, I think, for clothes and beautiful fabrics, And when you combine that with loving knitting, you end up fantasizing about all the things you could have and want to make, and then spending a lot of money on getting the beautiful things to knit the beautiful things with. But that's my hobby, and actually it's a very wholesome hobby, I tell my partner. No problem with that. Oh, so I have got a lot to look forward to, knitting wise. Thoroughly enjoying myself. It is now pitch black outside, so I'm really sorry about the light. I can see it's not brilliant. It is better than when I recorded just before. It all went a bit wrong. I had too many lights in the room and I think it got too confusing. So it's the best it's going to be for the time of year and the time of day. I would love to know what you are knitting on. I love hearing what other people have got. Have you got any swips of your own that you're really excited to knit? Have you got any Christmas swips? Please let me know if you've got any pattern recommendations. I hope you're all keeping warm. I hope you're secretly enjoying the autumn, or openly enjoying the autumn like I am, because it's lovely to wear your knits when it's getting cold. But yeah, if you want to give this a like and subscribe, that really helps my channel, and I can be found on Instagram as @mellyart13 and on Ravelry as @mellyart. And I will see you next time, and I will hopefully be dressed in a little Christmas jumper. Fingers crossed. Thank you. Bye.